Good evening, Ugandans. Good evening, Ivanachoto, wherever you are watching us from. It is Momo, as usual, and today I bring you a fiaswa from Eastern Uganda. One of those people that has made a name for himself for fighting the NRM regime. He's one person who has dedicated his entire life to ending Museveni dictatorship. Lukanga Pro Queen, you are the first in class today. Tubaniriza nnyo ennaku zino, the people I'm bringing are for Luzungu. There is no more Luganda. We just need to we're just shifting the gears at a very fast speed. It's been a good day. It's been chilly in Kampala, and it's been cold, I think, all around the country. I won't waste so much time. I won't spend so much time. I want to welcome our comrade so that he can share one or two things with us. Honorable Okoit, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm so happy and so privileged to be live today on Echoto. It's been a very profound honor, and I'm really humbled that you're able to identify my input. And today you're giving me an opportunity to talk to our comrades that are across watching Echoto at this moment. I want to greet everybody for God and my country. Hello, how are you?
All right. Those some of you might not know much about Honorable Okoit because maybe you haven't had a chance to see him. But personally, I remember one of our first initiatives when Echoto had just formulated a grand team. Some of the few areas we first moved to was Teso sub-region, and is the person who led us all around. Mwalaba video, mwalaba interviews you saw when we were in Kaberamaido, when we were in I have forgotten the districts. We were in Soroti, Kaberamaido. We went to what is that district where we Bukedia? He's the gentleman who is leading the organization of that region. And I tell you, if I were to give awards, Teso sub-region is the most organized block in people power. That I can testify. I've been to Bunyoro, I've been to Toro, I've been to Chigezi, I've been to Ankore, I'm in Uganda here. No region comes too close to the work that you're doing, and we salute you. Honorable Koit is the same guy. There is a clip that has been making round when he's confronting an NRM guy, hitting them with tornadoes of truth and point by point. That video went viral, I think, like 3 days ago. This is the gentleman behind that video. And I think today you're going to have a buffet. Someone here says he watched you on Voice of Teso FM. So you're already a celeb saver in the struggle. So briefly, who are you? Introduce yourself to the people. People want to know a little bit about you. You can talk about your family background if you don't mind, or your education background and leadership background.
Yeah, thank you, Maush. First and foremost, I am now, by the way, I am just 2 days making 30 years. 2 days ago, I was 29, and today I'm 2 days old, making 30 years. I am the 8th in my mother's womb, and actually, apparently, I'm the third last, I think, yeah. I'm the third last in my mother's womb. And by the way, for purposes of education, if I was to share my whole history of education, we may take a bit of time, but I wanted to certainly cut it short and state that I am a certificate holder in business administration, but a own-made graphic designer, and the graphics that I do in town, you've been in my shop, I self-taught myself. After my O-level in 2008, being an orphan, actually a victim and a product of cattle rustling, an activity that the government of NRM was not able to protect my mother and my father from, made me the orphan that I am. And because of the status of my family and the loss that my mother and my father suffered during the attack of the Karamojong, we were made so vulnerable to the point that out of the 8 children, I am the only person in my family who was able to reach senior 4, actually O-level. I was the first person in my family. That was in 2008. And because of the guilt that I had in my life, that it would not be better for me to watch my whole family fall into the reign of not attaining any level in education. I worked so hard that after my primary education, that was in 2004, I watched my mother try to fend left and right to raise school fees for myself and my sister that I follow. Unfortunately, she was not able to continue and reach O level finally. But I moved to Soroti in 2006. My history of education is more or less the one of the principal, from one school to another, from this one to another, affected by the fact that I was not able to raise school fees, to be able to pay for some terms and so forth. So the only thing that I had to do was to move from this school. If I see I'm now becoming a little bit guilty because I've defaulted more than enough, I moved to another school. So because of those kind of things, I was able to finish my O level in 2008 here in Soroti. After I left Ngora in 2006, I came to Soroti as a street kid. And my work in Soroti by that time was to sell salt. I could carry salt on my shoulders, move around the town of Soroti while I sell it. And sometimes I could part time in those market manyanta kind of restaurants. My work was to wash plates in restaurants and mingle our local bread. It's called atapa. You call it kalo in your language in the other side of Buganda. So that could be my job always. You go to a restaurant, wash plates, get paid maybe by a meal, or you choose the money. Maybe that is just 1,000 shillings. You move to another restaurant. So I could alter restaurants, maybe 3 or 4 in a day. So that small money that they could pay me from this restaurant to another, that is what I could use for paying my school fees. And just know that the life was so hard. You go to school, you know you're not coming back to a secure place for accommodation. My place was a veranda always, so I could keep my kavera somewhere, move to a restaurant, work. After working early morning, I moved to class until I was able to end my O level in 2008. After my O level, the first place that I moved to was the district of Mpiji. While I was in Mpiji, I was actually moving to look for who can I identify with, who can identify my challenges and give me an opportunity, maybe to be a houseboy, maybe to keep a home or something. But even while I was there, I wasn't able to get what I wanted. So from there, I moved towards the borderline, that is in Hoima district. I was able to cross the border of Uganda and I entered Rwanda, by the way, unknowingly. And when I entered there, I moved from the border of Uganda and Kigali and Rwanda. I moved up to Kigali, by the way. While I was there, I was still the same guy in the street. But the advantage that I got while I was in Rwanda is that I was able to identify with some people from Central, the Baganda men who were there. And their work, they were doing mechanics, the Juakali people. I told them of my plight. I explained to them where I come from and why I was there and how I got there. And 2 people, one of them was called Mugisha, was quick to appreciate my confidence. And he said, no, you come. I have a saloon. Maybe you can work there. So I joined him in the barbing saloon. It's actually where I learned how to do barbing from. And after like 3-4 days, the government of Rwanda in 2009 introduced in their syllabus the English language because they were only teaching Kiswahili and French. So they were looking for teachers. And remember, in the capital of Kigali, there are private schools just like we have in Uganda. So the private schools at some point were not able to hire professional English teachers. So being one of those that had really highly passed English in my primary school and my O level, I offered myself as a volunteer in one of the primary schools within the slums of Kigali. I was taken in. I taught English in a particular school called Raimoya. And by the end of the year, by the way, my class passed most in that whole county. And the headmaster of that school appreciated me. And by that time, by the way, the money the other side was a bit more value than the one of Uganda. By that time, 1,000 was like Ugandan shillings around 3,000. So by the time they gave me 300,000, and that was like around 1 million shillings. So that money enabled me to move back to Uganda. When I came back to Uganda, I came and stayed in Tungamo. In Tungamo, I was there buying bananas and selling it to people who came from Kampala, selling them to Kampala. After some 2 or 3 months, I moved back to Kampala. When I came back to Kampala, I went and stayed in a place called Namwongo. While in Namwongo, my work was to come to town and offload pineapples, offload avocado, and did a small bit of work. That is when I learned about NASA Road. So when I got to know about NASA Road, I'm so passionate with fine art. I joined colleagues in NASA Road, and I began with a transfer paper. If you know that place behind Cham Towers, the biggest suppliers of paper in Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, and Rwanda. So while I was in around transfer paper, my work was to offload paper from trucks and deliver it to clients around NASA Road. And I was able to make friends in NASA Road. So they began teaching me computer. They taught me the programs that I use. So my passion grew from there. But while my passion grew for art and graphics in NASA Road, I began to see that frequently there were people from Teso that kept coming to buy products in NASA Road. But every time they came to buy products, some of them were ignorant of the prices. Some of them did not know what they were buying. And I could feel them cheated by, there were some funny boys around the gates there. They tell you the price, but in real sense, they are doubling it to make up some small money. So when I kept seeing these people getting cheated, yet I had already learned what they wanted in the street, I decided in 2012 to relocate from NASA Road, and I came back to Soroti. When I came back to Soroti in 2012, I was the first person to begin using Adobe Photoshop in designing certificates, business cards, and receipt books, and so many other things. So I began business in Soroti in 2012, but the only thing that I had by that time was a flash disk. That flash disk had my program, Adobe Photoshop, and then my tutorials and a few fonts and so forth. So the best I could do was I would move to a client. I tell him, you know what, Maush, I can make a banner. I can make for your receipt book. Then the client will be like, okay, give me a sample. I say, first give me some 2,000. Let me buy data. I go to a cafe. I install my program. I do my work. I print it out. I go and show a client. So I kept doing freelance. I kept doing freelance business for like around 7 years. From 2012, I operated with a flash and a memory card. I did not have a shop. I never had a computer. I never had a adapter. I didn't even have a chair. I didn't have a printer. I didn't have anything apart from my experience and my flash and the connections in Kampala. So I do the work, put it on WhatsApp, send it to Kampala, pay the money in mobile money. They send it back to Soroti. I give to the client. After 2-3 days, I get my money. So I kept saving money. I saved money. I saved money. So I've been saving money for the last 7 to 6 years until 2017, when I'd saved it to a tune of 10 million shillings. It is these savings of 10 million shillings that I was able to set up the shop that you saw when you came to Soroti. That business is worth 10 million shillings, a saving of over 6 years.
Wow.
So being that orphan, my mother, my 2 daughters, my brothers and sisters, my friends, the charity I was doing, because I do charity in Soroti here. I support street children because I know the plight that they go through, because I was once in that situation. So I feel I'm still connected to those children. That is why you see when you come to Soroti, most of them identify with me like a brother, because I tell the story that they tell. I feel the situation that they feel. I went through what they went, because that is exactly the definition of what most of us are today. My president, Kyagulanyi, had the same test of life. So I feel I am connected to the president and the struggle at the first instance, because this is the same life that 3/4 of our young people today who are proving to be so committed to this struggle have gone through. Yeah, it is true. You might not be a street kid, literally. You might have not seen the life that we have seen, but the challenges that you have gone through, the ambitions that have been crushed by what is surrounding us today is completely what is connecting you and myself and the president. You know, it is okay for you not to be identifying with us by history, but it is the best option and the best desire for you to be part of us. Because if you're human enough, you should be able to feel the pain that that child out there in the street is feeling, regardless of your background and what you go through and what you have to offer. So, 10 years, I've been able to be who I am today. And you can imagine that young people, while my story was that absurd, I did not know that other young people were really following me and seeing what good I had. So in 2016, from being this young man who used to preach the gospel, that was actually my calling. Mine was to go and tell people, you know what, Maush, get saved, God is coming, please stop doing this and do the other. And then 2016, young people told me, no, George, no, you have to contest. We have an NRM candidate, we have an FDC candidate, but I think you would be the best person to go and represent us in the municipality council. I told those guys, you know what? I don't have anything to offer. I am not a politician. I am not even a delegate. So how is it going to be? They were like, no, George, you don't need to be a voter. You don't need to be a delegate. They said, no, please, we shall give you the support. We, the NRM people, we shall vote for you. The FDC guy said, George, we shall vote for you. Go as an independent. And that is the time Go Forward was on fire. So I identified with Go Forward in 2015-16 election. And believe me, in the whole of Teso, I am the only one who went through in Go Forward in Teso. The only one, by the way, out of 10 districts. I'm the only one who made it through. So as we speak right now, I am a current youth councillor for Soroti City that was recently upgraded from a municipality to a city. And for history's sake, I'm going to be the first youth councillor. You'll not rub that off. I am the one. So I am so glad to God that I happen to be the first youth councillor with the whole history. So you can imagine from 2006 of being a street kid to 2016, today I am a leader. So that is a space of 10 years of struggle, of endurance, of persistence, of consistency, and of hope that I was able to make it to a leader. So I want to believe that the God that made me who I am today. Just a minute, I want to open the door for somebody. Shortly, I should be there.
Wow, Honorable,
so at the end
that
of the
is
day,
quite a touching story. And the reason I wanted you to share it in because you gave us hints when we visited you, and it wasn't as complete as it is now. But how many languages do you use? Because I want us to mix some languages.
The other language, I don't know whether how many people would hear. I'm very fluent only in English and then Ateso. So I don't know how many guys can understand my local language, really.
Okay, we are going to stick to English then. This is this is now where we're going to. I've seen how you come into leadership. You joined the leadership. You joined through youth elections. Now I want you to give us an insight. How has been building the people's power structure in a region like Teso? How have you found the experience?
The building of the structure has been a tedious job, really. I remember 3 years ago, People Power as a movement came with Storm. When it came with Storm, so many people identified with the People Power at that time. Sorry, I am trying to put my phone on charge. The battery seems to be going low, but I'm now good. When People Power came into place after the Toji Quarter Call and the OTT bill were the item of the day, so many people, members of parliament, did identify with people power by that time. So at that moment, I was skeptical of following Kyagulanyi and the friends who were in Tojikwatako, because in 2016 I was disappointed. I was disappointed by the movement of Go Forward. So when People Power came, I was so reserved in following People Power because I needed to trust the people who were leading People Power. And remember, Obote and Kabaka at the time in Buganda had their own issues fighting for power. The Kabaka wanted presidency with power and authority, yet Obote had taken the prime minister's office with all the power and authority. So what happened here was, because they were fighting, Obote made a statement that said that you can only find a good Muganda in the grave. So that statement has been told over time and over time, to the extent that most of us, the young people, have not been believing in alliances with the Baganda. We have been looking at them in the narrative of the Obote regime and other regimes that followed after. So people did not trust Kyagulanyi. They never trusted the people who were coming with People Power. So for me to fall into that, it needed me to take more time to research and understand the motive, the objective, and the concept on which People Power was indebted on. So after 3 months to 6 months of analyzing, I found it worthy following Bobby Wine, but I was following him from a distance. It was until they went for their royal election when Wadri beat his opponents, and then following it was the Bugiri by-election, and then followed by the Jinja by-election where Mwiru was made MP by that time. So after these incidences, I realized it was worth giving it a try. So even before Kyagulanyi and the team identified me from Teso, I began to identify with the ideals, the objective of People Power. So I joined the wagon of people who were agitating for the stopping of the amendment of the Constitution and the passing of the OTT bill. So I began doing my interviews on radio. I could do Facebook posts, and because I was a counselor and I was already an activist earlier on, the radio stations began to identify with me. So they could invite me for talk shows, and I could be there defending the Tojikwata call. I would be defending the anti-OTT team, something like that. So at some point, I began to identify other young people in different districts, because I felt that our forefathers had a deal that was not complete, and that was fighting to protect the little that we had as Teso sub-region. So I didn't want my region to be left behind. So I took it up to myself, an initiative to begin identifying other young people from other districts, and where I began from Serere district, and I moved it to Kabaramaido, I moved it to Amuria, I moved it to Katakwi, I moved it to Kumi, and the message I passed while I moved to this district, I said, you guys, why don't we try to ally with these people of People Power? As young people, we have a very, very big role in seeing to it that our country is governed in the right way. Others turned me down, others were positive on it, so I kept moving.
So at the end of the day, I came in touch with a few people, and I made a program with the president. I told him I am coming over to Kampala and I'm coming to meet you. So I traveled to Kampala with a team of 6 people, and we met Kyagulanyi. He did tell me, George, I don't have enough time, I'm going to Parliament. And the first person that I met when I came to Kamocha was Semboga Roy. When I met Roy, when I met Roy, I was able to discuss with him a few pointers. But before I could finish my conversation, Roy confessed and said, I think, George, the information that you're giving me is not for me. It should be for the president. So straight away, Roy was able to make a call to the president, and the president was on his way to parliament at that day. He had to make a U-turn. So he came back, and when he came back to meet us. He had given me 30 minutes, but by the time we finished our discussion, he realized it was 2 hours, because I did not go to Kampala. I didn't go to Kampala to tell him what we planned to do, but we were telling him what we had done. So he said, Honorable, people have been coming here telling me, oh, Bobby Wine, this is what we can do. We shall go and do this. We shall go and do this. But again, for you, you've come here telling us what you have been doing, because I went there to give a report. That is what I went to do there. I went to give a report, and he appreciated our report, and he flagged me off and told me, Honorable, please go ahead and continue doing what you've been doing. So we came back to Teso.
Now let me chip in. Let me chip
Yes.
in. So
Yeah.
you want to tell me that you began voluntarily to mobilize people before being connecting with the main office, before being appointed?
I didn't even know that I would even meet Bobby Wine. I didn't even want to meet him because he was doing what I wanted to do. So kind of our activities just met. So I was doing it as a volunteer. I did not expect anything, but just because we wanted to establish contact, it was very necessary for me to make an appointment and meet the principal, because I needed him to know that there are other young people who identify with the dream that he seemed to carry by that particular time. So I wasn't identified by Kyagulanyi. I identified myself.
Let me chip in again. You want to tell me that you voluntarily began establishing a network within Teso sub-region. Who was funding that program?
Yeah, I did. Nobody, by the way, nobody. I have a small shop in town, and you visited that small shop.
Try to be stable, please. The network, when the phone shakes, then the network becomes unstable. Please try to hold. I know the hands are tired now, but try to.
No, they're not tired, but I think my Bluetooth is the battery either is low or something like that. But can you hear me?
Just disconnect it entirely. Just disconnect it. We shall be able to hear one another. Yeah, just disconnect it.
Can you hear me now there?
Yeah, it's clear actually.
So I was trying to say that I wasn't identified by Kyagulanyi. I identified myself. And the funds that I used for establishing the structure were entirely my personal profits from the shop, and yeah, that was it. So I had to lock the shop and move to the field. Like I did that for some time, and then there was a time that Kyagulanyi was identifying the structure. When he announced himself for candidature under People Power, the first time that he announced for running for president, at that time, I was appointed with other 3 members of parliament, and then another young man from Palisa. But unfortunately, on the same day of the appointment, all the 3 members of parliament stepped down. They said, no, we cannot. We're not consulted, and all that. They said everything they had to say, and I was left alone. I was left alone with the young man from Palisa, who was also based in Kampala. So apparently, entirely, I was alone managing Teso. So what I did, I said, no, I think I don't need to worry a lot, because I've been doing it alone. Let me just keep going. I am sure that others will join me on the way. So for 2 years to 2 years and a half, Maush and the public out there, I had to shoulder on the responsibility of funding the activities in the region and also closing my shop. Just know I closed my shop for 2 years. up to the point when clients began to complain. Actually, my clients began to shift to Kampala. You know, they could, every time they come to the shop, they get the shop locked and they could complain. So I had to. I told them I'm not going to be
George. Let me fire you some questions. Comrades, before I even fire him some questions, please share this, because we rarely do we get such people on this platform. You know, every day almost I've been hosting someone, but his story is unique. Actually, it's the reason I'm not interrupting him, because I want you guys to get this first-hand information to see what it means, or kwebereramu, like what is it means to be self-ignited and self-driven. And George is a true definition of that. So kindly share this message. Please share this message. Invite people to really hear this story, because maybe it is going to help us sort so many issues. Because, you know, there are so many people you tell that maybe we can do this, but they wait to be paid, they wait to be pushed. But here is someone who is telling you what he has gone through to establish a structure in an entire sub-region. And I stand to testify. I witnessed with my own eyes. I was there for 3 days. We saw exactly what he's doing, and I can tell you, he has the most organized people power structure in the country, if I'm not mistaken, according to what I've experienced. So, comrades, please share this message. So, Georgie, what is the driving force behind all this sacrifice? I mean, are you going to contest to be Chagulanyi's vice president? I mean, ofuniramuwa.
It's not about, by the way, just to move a little far from that question. It's not about the position to me. It's not even about the benefit that comes out of it. Apparently, the most cardinal and the most objective that I give myself a challenge for is that I must be part of the history in making that left Uganda a better country. For a long while, we as young people have been convinced that we live in a better country. By pretext to the world out there, everybody knows we are a part of Africa. They assume everything in Uganda is okay. But when you and I get back to Uganda, honestly, the definition of the Pearl of Africa vanishes in thin air, because you don't see anything that resembles the Pearl. I would assume that the people who identified Uganda as a Pearl of Africa saw more than what we really see today, where leaders have begun to be the destroyers of our hope, where the people who are supposed to have the honor to be called fathers and grandfathers have reduced themselves into our tormentors. So as a young person, I did not want to be in the bandwagon of the people who kept sitting in verandas and gave the praise to wrong people. I needed to identify whatsoever, even if it's just one individual. I didn't care, but I needed to be in a team of young people who would wake up in the morning to, to unblind the people who have been blinded by the lie of the Marxist. It is so perturbing, so heartbreaking to live in this country where you think you are a native, but the way the government treats you, they treat you like you are a visitor. They treat you like you are an intruder. They treat you like you are a thug. I think I was not willing to keep quiet on such atrocities. I know my voice alone could not be heard across the borders, but I know that if I identified with young 2, 3, 4 people, I am very certain that together our plight would be heard from somewhere. And I want to assure you that today we are able to be live on a Choto. It is a making of its own history. The mainstream media has blocked us out, but we as young people, out of our connections, we are able to meet. We are able to talk to a few people out there. And I want to assure you that at the end of the day, whatever our regime is giving to us today will surely be smashed at the end of the day. So my commitment is anchored on the fact that I want to see my country free. I want to see where freedom really means freedom. I want to see a country where peace truly means to be peaceful. I wouldn't want to be in a country where peace is defined by the silence of guns. But when you translate to real life, there is no peace. Because I challenge my comrades every day that you guys, I think we're not doing the right thing. You talk about peace. Yes, I understand we don't have internal wars. Yeah, that is true. But the question here is, I would ask you really, like for us who went through the life that we went through, I would ask you that, my brother, if your mother sent you to school after selling every little thing that she had, she sold the land, she sold the cows, she has even labored to look for pocket money for you. And then government says, you know what, George, we have a UPE for you, we have USE for you. Go to school. After you're done, we have a job for you. Then when you get done with school, you come back presenting your credentials for a job. They ask you for a 10-year experience. Honestly, is there a peace in such a home where a young man has finished education and the only thing he can do is to come back and share a house with the mother and the father? Is that what you mean by peace? Is there a peace in a home of a woman who goes for antenatal and the only thing she can get there is a rude nurse who beats her up and shouts at her? Is that peace to you really? Is there a peace in a hospital? Like for us here in Soroti, we have Soroti Referral Hospital, a government hospital. But you know what? The story is, in a referral hospital, they refer you to a private clinic. What kind of reference is that? I thought it's the other way around. A public hospital should be receiving cases that private clinics have failed to handle. But here you are referring a patient from a government facility to an individual's clinic. It actually translates how failed the state and government has been. You can things are supposed to be. You know, is there a peace in a school where teachers are not paid really? That is not, I think, peaceful for me. So I need us to discuss peace at a context of it naturally, like largely beyond just the silence of guns. So when I observe this kind of challenges, I understand.
This is where I'm chipping in, Mr. Okoit. I've tested and witnessed your abilities and capability. Actually, when I visited the sub-region with the team, we thought you contesting to become a member of parliament. I mean, you have the ability, you have the structure, and I think you have the credentials too. Now, what is baffling me is you are not even contesting as an honorable member of parliament. You're just choosing to be a councillor. And you are the person I found organizing members of parliament. Now, why do you choose to really, in Uganda, I would say, otusaze nsawo. I don't know if you know what that means. You are choosing to step back because, I mean, we need you in parliament. We need you articulate, you can, I think, debate. You have thorough knowledge about our country, our plight, and so forth. And I think you can really articulate issues on the floor of parliament. But above all things, you choose to come as a councillor. You're a regional coordinator, my friend. What is that you're trying to do?
One thing that we need to agree and learn in life is that it's not about your position. It is about the input that you put where you are. I feel that the best place that I can serve my people and represent them is the local council. Because at the local council, I am able to identify with the local community. Because for me, that is the basic. For us to be able to change our country, we need to begin it from the source. And the source is the common community. So I need more time in Soroti for me to be able to empower my young people here. I'm imagining going to Kampala somehow will disconnect me from the objective of my leadership. So I need to empower my community at the lowest level possible. And also the other thing that I needed to remind us is that the importance of a local councillor to a struggle like NUP today is that where I go through, I want to be certain that 90% of my vote will go to my president. That is the truth I can tell. That is why you realize, even when I was alone, we were able to present before Electoral Commission to a tune of around 120 councillors, LC3s, and direct elected councillors across the sub-region. And I've been doing that as an individual. But even while doing that, we have not been having funds. You know, we have struggled. We had over 500 councillors, but we missed out over 300 to 400 just because most of them did not what it took to nominate. People wanted to contest, but people don't have even 20,000, 50,000, you know, and some of them did not know where to find me because you can imagine the whole region. We don't even have an office. You came to my shop. I had to volunteer my shop as a regional office. We don't have an office in Teso. We struggle in my shop, registering members of NUP, giving information, holding meetings in my small shop because we don't have the capacity to hire a house. We don't even know what it takes to, we don't have what it takes to really buy even materials. So you realized in the same small shop, I had to photocopy materials. I had to come up with forms of my own ideas that I thought could help build the structure. So for me, my decision to run for a councillor is to show other young people that it is not necessarily going to parliament that gives an input, that gives an impact to the change of leadership in our country. You can actually do it anywhere. You can even do it when you're not a leader. Look at you, Maush, today. You're not running for any position, but your input in the struggle is tremendous. What you're doing, other young people cannot do. And this is exactly what we are supposed to do. You know, you can't run for member of parliament. What can you do as a young person? Do it. What does it, what is that you can do? If you can pray, go and pray for us. If you can mobilize money, go and mobilize money. If you can protect the posters out there, protect the posters. If you can fundraise, please fundraise. If you can ride the car, do it. Please find something within the structure and do it. Don't just expect to mobilize, not actually contesting does not prove that you're the most committed. No, it is something else because you who is contesting, you are actually contesting because you've been able to drive confidence on the existence of the structure. But if there was no structure, I'm sure you will not contest. So for me, the real deal here is establishing a network, and that network can only be established when you are within your community. So I want to be down here to support the soldiers who are going up there to parliament. But I'm certain that at some point, maybe I'll contest for member of parliament, or I will still go for mayor within my local community, because I just don't want to lose touch of my people. Because I've realized most times when members of parliament go to Kampala, they begin to assume they live in another planet. They forget about the people and begin their own deals there. I can give you an example of the recently concluded amendment. An MP has been told to go and say no. The gentleman goes there and says yes. It's because they are disconnected from reality. But when you are with your people, you feel the demand from them. So you are bound not to make those mistakes while you're with your people. And it also gives people an opportunity to correct and observe you. So as a young man, my leadership should really be trimmed and worked upon by the community itself. I don't want to assume I'm the best. Yeah, I may be having the credentials, the capability, but it is beyond the material, the things that you see in me. It's about how committed, how prepared I am to represent people out there. And I'm sure right now I yet don't have what it takes to leave my people right now. I will leave them after some time, but for now, I want to serve NUP at the level that I am.
Wow, you know, George, usually I host people and I always want to chip in. But when you start deliberating, I feel like I'm part of the audience instead of being a moderator. Now, let's hit the real business.
Yeah.
In one of our meetings, spies came and attended, and they wanted maybe to call the security apparatus in the area. Now, I want you, first of all, to send a message to people who are betraying the struggle to liberate Uganda. Secondly, I want you to send a message to Ugandans who are, who apathy. It's called voter apathy. People who don't give a damn. Those two classes of people: those who are spying or betraying the revolution, then also those who are just folding their arms as though everything is okay.
I remember when you came to Teso, my message has been consistent to the structure. because I observed this a while ago, because at some point it has been a deliberate move by the government in place to make young people vulnerable enough, to the extent that the only thing that they can now engage into is transactions of their own brothers and sisters. You see, I feel so funny when a young man at my age and your age gets the confidence to call the RDC, the DPC, the GISO, and those levels of the security personnel that they understand. I feel so upset because, one, the only benefit that you get from calling the police to arrest me or arrest Maush is that you only feel that inner joy of the fact that you have the RDC's number. But when you look at it later, what does it benefit you as a young man? Because the only thing you're doing here is you're working for the RDC indirectly. The work of the RDC, the DPC, the intelligence officers, and so forth is to identify and scout out crime. But here you are helping them in pointing out your own brothers. What does it add up to your life when your own is tortured, when your own is incarcerated, when your own is killed because you think by having the number to the RDC, by being a friend to the DPC, you're doing them a favor? You are not. You are actually helping them. Because one, like I give an example here in Teso, all the DPCs that come here are not from my land. The RDCs are neither all from my land. Now, by the time you sell my security to them, if they arrested me today, if they tortured me tomorrow, and I die the second day, who makes the loss? It is not them. It is you, my fellow tribesmate, who sold me out, who makes the deal to fail. Because the other side, they are protecting their upcoming leaders. For you here, they have made you give up the security of your own leaders. At the end of the day tomorrow, foreigners come to lead you. You are actually promoting colonization of your own community by foreign tribes. The Bible tells me in the book of Deuteronomy that pick out leaders from your own tribe, identify them, that I may be able to pick one among them. You know, the Bible is very clear on tribe, on tribe. He tells us to pick from our own. Now, if you, my own brother, is selling me out, who else are you going to pick to represent you? How together? Who else are you going to pick out? So it is very important for us, first of all, to understand that the people who are selling out members of NUP have no Christianity in them. They do not even have a concept of life, of what life is. They don't know exactly their purpose on earth. They are misplaced and they carry no integrity, because what is that you cannot do without involving my own sake? If you think what I'm doing is not proper with you, why don't you mind your own business and do your own shit? You know, it is very ridiculous for you to think because you identify with the CDF, with the RDCs and so forth. You have not made it in life, my brother. You have not. And I keep telling people down here that, do you really think if I die today, you benefit? You don't grow fat. You don't change your color. If you're black, you remain black. If you're tall, you remain tall. There is nothing that my death adds up to your life. So to cut this story short, I want to assure everybody out there that, colleagues, before we even begin to think of the people who sell out our own secrets, the question to you and I is, what is your objective in NUP? Please establish why you joined us, because it is out of that objective that you'll be able to understand exactly what kind of business you should be able to work upon. We have got several groups of young people there. The group of the Choto and the Maush. You guys have understood your objective. You are there to reach out to communities. You have come to test. You have been in Bunyoro. That is what you thought you were better off. That is what you thought you could do better for the movement. Now, each one of us who claims, who believes that you are in this struggle for real, I want to ask you to sit down and ask yourself, what is it that I am supposed to do in this course? What is it? Ask yourself. Ask yourself. Nobody can tell you. Nobody can discover what you're supposed to do in the struggle. You need to do it yourself. And once you've been able to do that, do an assessment. Self-evaluate your commitment. Self-evaluate your consistency. Self-evaluate your belief. By that way, you would be able to actually vindicate yourself from falling victim, like our colleagues that you've seen today. They're in NUP. Another day they are running Musei what? You know, it is reckless for you to be having our card and then you're again singing yellow things and then you're telling us you've not defected. So who are you? The Bible tells me a man with uncertain mind benefits in nothing. You know, you want to be in NUP. You want to be the other side. Where do you want to be? You be in one place and let us know who exactly you are. Don't confuse people here. We have got other things to do than following you around, fighting the little things that you think we should fight with. No, it is not going to help us. So I need to send a message to colleagues out there that let's not be pushed back by people who leave us. People who leave us were never meant to be ours. They were not ours at all. Because if they were with us, they would have stood. I have seen coordinators in NUP who were very strong, and I thought that they would be the best, but have left me behind. And I want to pray that by the time the election gets done in January, it must get me still standing. And fourth, I don't want to step back in any way. So I would want to really ask all my colleagues out there that I know there are hard points in life. We have not yet reached the hardest. We are yet to enter the hardest, beginning from the 9th of November, when the politics really is opened by Electoral Commission. Let me tell you, colleagues, it's going to be a tough one. And it only calls for you to tighten your seatbelt because it's going to be tough. You've observed the roadmap they have just released. The date for the election of the president is not indicated anywhere. So young man out there, young woman out there, whatever you be doing, you need to do it with the whole of your heart. Because again, I refer to the Bible. I just want to refer
Now, I want us to comment about, briefly, comment about the atrocities committed by the NRM regime in your area.
My heart bleeds, actually. Speaking about what we have gone as TESO, something that is not even worthy speaking, because it is so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. Between 1941 and 1986, in 1967 or so, the Iteso were the second richest economy in the whole of Uganda. They followed Buganda because Buganda was the entry point of almost every governance. When the white people came, they came through Buganda. Any government that has governed Uganda has always come through Buganda. So Buganda was empowered first before any other region in the country. Now, Iteso were the last people to understand the value of money, the monetary aspect of revenue. We were the last community in the whole of Uganda. Why? Because we had our own cows, and these cows acted as a gateway of every business. We kept on barter trade. When you guys knew about the money, we knew about the barter trade. You want to give us a car, we give you a cow. You want to give us a bicycle, we give you a cow. So we were led to understand the value of money. Now, every home in Teso at least had 1 or 2 cows. I am a follower of history, and my history tells me that the community of Teso had more cows than what the whole country had. We had over 6 million cows in Teso alone. In Teso alone. So the whole country did not have that number of cows. And most of the people that kept these cows were colleagues from Western Uganda. And they used to stay in a particular place called Agu, and they were spread out across Teso. And I think this is how they were able to scout out the rich people within Teso and those who could be used as spies and so forth. So when this gentleman took over power, we had a gentleman called Otai. He's now the late. He was a state minister for security under Obote II. And he had established a unit between Karamoja and Teso called a special force. And this army was majorly the Iteso and the Langi community. So in the 1980 election, when Museveni lost, a night before the election, he put Obote's government on notice. And he said, if this election is not going to be fair and free, I am going to the bush. And truly, he went to the bush the next day when he lost the election. When they went to the bush, remember, Obote II was not as clean as Obote I. So at some point, the communities out there felt that what the Obote II government was doing to the communities was so pathetic and very bad, with the narrative that the NRA and the FRONASA had given to the public out there, that Obote was killing people and so forth. The peace and democracy loving countries identified with the FRONASA, the UNLA and the NRA. By that time, they were able to give them support. That is when you remember Sweden and other countries, Japan and so forth, were able to identify with the Museveni and other leaders who were within NRA. So when they gave them this foreign support from Tanzania and so forth, they were able to topple the Obote II. But I want to assure you, after they toppled the Obote II colleagues, it was so absurd what followed later. When the first thing that they did was, one, they had to restruct the whole army that was at the borderline between Karamoja and Teso. Otai came back this side and he was able to mobilize other brothers and sisters who felt insecure by the time NRA took over power. And that is when I lost my father in Ngora, BKC, Bishop Keating College. He was killed in that period of time when I had just been born in 1989. My father died because he refused to give rebels just, I think beans or something. And by the time they could not identify which group was rebels and which one was the National Army, because at that point, also there was a group of the soldiers who were killing every prominent Itesot at that time while looting and causing them loss. So my father was not able to know which one is the rebel group and which one is not. So at the end of the day, I lost my father in that fight. So as time progressed, the Karamojongs now shortened because there was no protection between the Karamojong and the Iteso along Nakapiripirit. So when they came, what actually surprises me is that this Karamojong, in quotes by the way, knew every home that had cows. Every home that had cows, these Karamojongs knew. But every day I ask myself, who taught the Karamojong how to shoot the guns? And who supplied the guns to the Karamojong? And if the Karamojongs took our cows, how comes today the Karamojongs are dying of hunger? If they took our cows, where are the cows? Are the cows producing? Are they in some kind of family planning that they stopped producing? Or what really happened to the cows that they took from Teso? Because from one home, they took 1,000. Another home, maybe 100. Another home, maybe 200. So what happened to these cows? How comes the Karamojongs are equally poor today? As we speak right now, the community of Teso, according to the current reports by UBOS, we are the second poorest region in the whole country. Just imagine, from the second richest, after 30 years, we are the second poorest in the whole country. We have been reduced to house girls, we have been reduced to askaris, we have been reduced to shamba boys, we have been reduced to porters and loaders and offloaders of merchandise in markets. That is where we have been. From being under secretaries, commissioners, DPCs, and all these managers of cooperatives, today we are not even close to that. Our community has been made the poorest. Colleagues, I want to remind you that our life as TESO was anchored on cooperatives. But when this government came into place, all the cooperatives that stood in TESO are all gone. We had one of the largest meat packing factories in the whole of Africa or East Africa, that is Soroti Meat Packers at Aloyet. When they came, they sold it, I think, at $1. You know, today it is just a big elephant. They are doing nothing. You know, recently they gave us a new economic idea, and that idea was planting of orchards, the oranges and so forth. But I can assure you, colleagues, that the issue of planting oranges has not added any value to us, because at the end of the day, the factory was brought, and the price at which they buy the oranges is so disturbing. How do you buy a kilo of oranges at 400 shillings? When is the young man who planted those oranges 5 years ago going to come out of poverty, honestly? It is going to be a difficult thing for you to explain to me that that is a possible way of bringing us out of poverty. Remember, an orange and a legume plant cannot share a garden. Today, we cannot put a cassava in the same garden where oranges are, because they kill the nutrition in the next 2 or 3 gardens next to the orchard. So today you cannot see any native plant in TESO here, because we were known for the cattle and agriculture. But today, when you watch us closely, there is no economic activity that we offer. We offer nothing economically. Ours is just to consume. We have nothing to sell. And I think that is not what I want to see in my community. I would want to see a community of TESO engaging actively in economic activities that will give us something as revenue. The only thing that TESO benefits from in the markets is the revenue which we collect from the markets. 200 shillings, and even this 200 goes to central bank. I want to ask all of us, how does it benefit us? When you come to TESO, 3/4 of our road network is maram, which maram is full of potholes. I think I don't see any benefit that our taxes are doing to us in TESO. You know, I gave you an example in a video that has been moving around on the experience that I had in Karamoja in a particular district called Karenga. Colleagues, it is not about Karenga alone. TESO has got Ngero rock paintings. Ngero rock paintings is one of the paintings that you see in a 2000 note. Now, if that is a rock painting that is in TESO, it is a tourist attraction now, and it's in a national tender. The government was supposed to give back to TESO part of the money they get from tourism, because part of our rocks are being used in the illegal tenders. So how the same way the Banyoro and the Baganda are benefiting from the Kasubi tombs and other heritage sites of the kingdom, that is how the ITESO Cultural Union is supposed to benefit from the money that tourism brings to our country, because of what they're using in those notes. When you look closely at the 2000 note, that is a Ngero rock painting, but there is nothing our institution here locally is benefiting from government out of that. And I think that is a disadvantage to us. Also, when you look at it properly, colleagues, the constitution that we are working with today was a constitution that was developed after 10 years of NRM being in power uninterrupted. Do you think in those 10 years they were planning on how to empower TESO or to disempower us? I want to give you a secret today. In 1992, on the 16th of February, a group of some people sat somewhere in Western Uganda. And in that meeting, one of the objectives was, how do we break the economic, the political, and the social strength of TESO, of Eastern and Northern? And today, I can tell you the truth. TESO is in suspense, just like Karamoja is in suspense. We belong nowhere. They have told us we belong in Eastern Uganda. But I want to ask you, colleagues, how do we identify with the Basoga, the Bugisu, and the Sebei? We don't share culture. We don't share the economic activities. Neither do we share any language. Now, how do you put us in one team as Eastern Uganda? Look at Karamoja. How do you pick a Mudat from all the way nearing Sebei and take it to Northern Uganda? They don't hear Choli. They don't share economic activity. That is impossible. I want to assure you, it was deliberate to put us in those districts. The best option would have been give give Teso and Karamoja an autonomy by calling it Northeastern Uganda. Why do I say so? Because while they are giving a donor or a grant report, they don't say we gave Teso. They say we gave Eastern. They sum us up in Eastern. We have 4 ministers in Eastern. But who are the ministers? They only stop somewhere. They don't cross to Teso. So we have been hidden in that vacuum. So we live in suspense as Teso. Nobody can hear our problem because there is somebody in between us and the central government. And one of the objectives as to why I joined NUP is to make sure that at the end of the day, when we take over power, an amendment must be caused to empower Teso and Karamoja as their own region. You can't imagine that a minister for Karamoja is somebody from Western Uganda. So how do you understand the problems in Karamoja? That is a very big lie, and it cannot happen in the new government of NUP. We must, if we are talking about equity and equality and inclusion, we begin from empowering Teso and Karamoja as their own region. And I think that is the best way we can give a service to these people.
Thank you, Mr. George. And guys, we are cutting short this broadcast. We are returning perhaps tomorrow. You have to shed another appointment with Georgie because this is just the first part of it. And I hope you guys have had a very good experience with him. When George starts talking, you don't want him to stop, and that is just like the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to ask him to say bye-bye just in a minute, and just a last-minute message to these comrades, and we shall be back sooner than later, so that he can really unwrap what he has in store for you. In a minute, say bye-bye to your viewers. You have very good comments here. You go through at the end of the show, and you'll be encouraged.
Yes, thank you so much, Maush, and the entire universe that is following Echoto this evening. I am so privileged to be sharing these experiences with you. I thought we could go into structure formation, structure.
That is what you are going to handle in the next appointment.
But as I end, I just want to pass an appeal that colleagues and brothers out there, it's been a very hard journey for me for the last 3 years. I have been standing alone in forming the structures, organizing districts and sub-counties and parishes. It's been very hard. I almost lost my business because every small penny, I had to put it in the structure. And it's been 2 months I have not been on the ground because I told myself I need to put back my business. I had lost capital. I had borrowed monies from friends. But today, as we speak, I am somehow stable in the shop. Therefore, my appeal to you colleagues is that the election is closer. And our structure in Teso, yes, it is organized, but we need to consolidate the work that we have already done. And all these calls for funds. One of the appeals that I have mostly is one, we have got candidates for local council, councillors to the district, to the LC3 council, and all these things, including myself. We lack a lot of materials. One, these village candidates lack posters. They lack mobility. They lack capacity to even have a talk show or something. But if they can move to 1 or 2 places and try to spread the message of the movement, I'm sure that we would be far from where we are today. Number 2, we have got district coordination teams. Colleagues, these people have given, they have volunteered. For the last 3 years, I have seen them sell their own foodstuffs. I've seen them sell goods. I've seen them sell everything to make sure they're able to move from point A to point B. Brothers and sisters, whatever you have out there, whether it's 1,000, whether it's 2,000, we have a committee in Teso. We have a fully fledged financial committee and a department. Your money doesn't come to me as George, it goes to our finance. And we are trying to say, if we can be able to just support these candidates, maybe 200 or 500 posters per candidate. We have 100 of them. I know we can't support everybody, but can we do something as a community? Wherever you are, what is that you can offer to support these young people? We have got members of parliament who are also incapacitated at some point. What is that little support that you can give? Brothers, this thing is not just for Buganda. It is for every young person. So while you concentrate in supporting the center and other regions, please remember TESO is in total support, is an ally towards the cause of making sure we change the leadership of our country. Therefore, I want to pray that you consider supporting us with whatever little saving that you have, whether it's 1,000. I repeat again, that 1,000 can move us a mile, can buy us water, can buy us airtime, that will add to the little that we have offered. So lastly, I want to pray that the next time that we shall engage again, I will be having a better background, not like the one of today, and I should be able to do than today. I appreciate everybody.
Worry
And
not, George. I won't just ambush you. Today, I know I ambushed you, and it is okay.
Yes.
But next time, we shall prepare well ahead in time. And comrades, this is one of the places I've been to, and it is where I saw dedication. In one of the meetings we were in at Honorable Irene's place, I remember there was a gentleman who had moved from the farthest sub-county parish was more or less like 40 kilometers away from the meeting place. And this man had no bicycle, but he had come and, oh my God, I don't know. These guys, I wish you guys could have an interaction with the TESO team. I rarely give credit, but I can vouchsafe for TESO structures, say TESO sub-region coordination team. Thank you so much for the voluntary work you're doing, and I pray and hope someone reaches out and supports these candidates that are really very passionate. And I think 100% we have a win in TESO compared to most of the regions we've been to. TESO is a region that I can really garner for and say, yeah, we've got it in. We've got everything covered. And I pray someone reaches out. So, comrades, thank you so much. I've been dozing. You forgive me. It's been quite a long day. Woke up so early, spent the whole day up and down. But finally, at least I've been able to deliver my comrade George. And we are coming back sooner than later so that he can give you more points. And he's an incredible guy. I don't want him to always stop. But thank you so much, George. Thank you so much for your time, for your data, for everything that you've sacrificed to make sure that this show happens. Thank you, Echoto Management, and thank you, our viewers, Claire, Uganda, Nalukwago, Pamela, Remia, Kelo, Yunus, Luswa, Twines, let me see, Mokasa, Eva, oh, guys, Queen, Cheryl. Yes, that number is on mobile money. Kabasita, Margaret. Thank you all, guys. All of you have been here. Fred, we are, I don't know. All of you have been here. All of you have shared, all of you have at least commented and encouraged the team. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. Have yourselves a great evening and a blessed night.